what's going on, guys? Jordan Sather here, and it's June 15th, and we're going to run through some news for you today. So, first and foremost, Wikileaks, they dropped another edition in their Vault 7 files. This one was called Cherry Blossom, and it was actually a CIA project that they did with Stanford, where they were able to create some malware to monitor and exploit wireless networking devices. So it doesn't matter if you got Linksys, if you got Belkin, if you got D-Link, you're pretty much screwed, and the CIA can hack your stuff. But just a word on all the Vault 7 files. Anytime, as they keep coming out, the thing I think of every time I see one, I'm like, duh. Of course the CIA can do this stuff. So again, they're not really exposing the really deep, dark stuff that we know the CIA is into, but we're getting there, and I'm really hoping that they speed up some of their leaks. And I don't even remember the last time actually they dropped a edition of their Vault 7 files. I think it's been a while, so I don't know what's going on, but I hope WikiLeaks starts a little more of a flood there. Next, we have the representative that was shot yesterday. So everybody really knows this by now, but a representative, Steve Scalise, was shot in Virginia, and apparently a shooter just basically went onto the baseball field and opened fire, shot a bunch of people. He ended up getting shot himself. But what I found that was interesting is that in recent weeks, this representative actually released video and tweeted about the human trafficking issue. And it looked like he was very involved in politics in ending human trafficking. Now, this is very interesting because what large political players are at risk of human trafficking investigations? A lot of them. So, is that the motivation? There seems to be a lot of motivation behind this shooting, and that may, the shooter, this leads me to question if he was or if he was not MK Ultra, and was this some kind of mind control plot to be done to divide basically Democrats and Republicans, because this was at a Democrat versus Republican baseball game, and we know how much political tension there is in this country right now, so it just completely seems reasonable that he would be a part of agenda to foster more political divide, because obviously we know the powers that be, they want division, they want of us all to be separated, they want us, to be within that divide and conquer play that they always try and do. So don't fall for that, right? That's why I don't deal with labels. I don't deal with Democrat this or Republican that, because that's just, it boxes you in, and it simply divides you, and it dehumanizes you in a way. So let's not fall into that political divide, and I think it'll be interesting to see if any more information about the shooting comes out and his ties to human trafficking. Or I should say ending human trafficking, not ties to human trafficking. But that was just something very interesting I wanted to throw out there. Next, we're going to get into Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone has a 4-part series coming out on Showtime, I believe now or soon, where he interviews Vladimir Putin. And for the last couple of years, he's been making trips to Russia to interview Putin, and it's now coming out in these documentaries on Showtime. And all I have to say about that is the MSM is just talking crap. I typed Oliver Stone interviews Putin into Google, looked up everything that came up, and no matter what mainstream site it came from, whether it was Politico or CNN or anything that came up, it was all blatant. It had a blatant narrative behind it, a blatant bias against Vladimir Putin. And then Oliver Stone, he goes on Stephen Colbert just the other night, and Colbert was just completely reaming this guy and trying to stump him, and he was obviously throwing his mainstream media bias out there. So it was sad to see. And Oliver Stone, he's the award-winning director who, what was that award show? It was just a couple months ago. Anyway, he won an award, I believe, for his Snowden movie, and he was up on stage there. It might have been the Guild Awards or something to that effect, but he was completely calling out the military-industrial complex on stage there. So I love Oliver Stone. I'm happy he got to interview Putin. I haven't seen the documentary yet, but I'm pretty sure it's good, especially if the mainstream media is talking so much crap as they are. So that's how I see that scenario. And then next we're going to go into this very interesting story that's coming out of Florida that we should definitely keep our eyes on, and that is a bunch of legal professionals passing away very mysteriously, all in the same area in Florida. And it may or may not, we don't know yet, that's why I'm saying keep your eye on it, do some investigative work on your own if you want to, but they all may or may not be tied into the DNC fraud lawsuit. And this lawsuit is one that is coming out of Florida against this woman right here, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and the Democratic National Committee about their election fraud. And these legal professionals were all found, this Baranton Wisenot on May 24th, Irvin Gonzalez on Naftali Walks on June 3rd, and Irvin Gonzalez on June 9th, all in the same area. This guy, Irvin Gonzalez, he was a high-profile $1 million plus lawyer, found suicide. Apparently it was suspected suicide. I call it Seth Riched, or he got JFK'd, something like that. But Naftali Walks, this one was a hit and run car crash. And then this guy, he was a federal prosecutor in the Florida area. He was found on Hollywood Beach I think that's in Miami, with what they suspect to be head trauma for potential gunshot wounds. So lots of very interesting deaths, all in the same district of this woman in Florida, who Debbie Wasserman Schultz, again, was the head of the Democratic National Committee. So these may or may not be connected to the DNC fraud lawsuit, but I don't know, you let your intuition do the talking there. So that's really what I have to say about that at the moment. And then lastly, I want to do a little bit of fake news alert. And this one, CBS takes the cake today. They get the dunce cap of the day for their fake news. And what they did was try to report an article on Donald Trump. They said in the headline of the article that Trump sells $19 billion in arms to Qatar after accusing them of being terrorists. But then literally in the same article, CBS goes to state that this was a deal that was ratified in November 2016 under President Obama. But in the headline, they're trying to pin it all on Trump. So it's just, again, it's literal mainstream media mind control, because you get to see how they operate. They take information, they cherry pick information, they put specific narratives on it. It's very easy to do with misinformation these days. There's a lot of those disinformation campaigns out there, not only in the mainstream media versus whoever they're going up against, but in all of these smaller kind of truthing investigative communities. There's a lot of disinformation agents out there, and it's very easy to see how they manipulate data to manipulate your mind. So always look at the data and make sure that you're not being misinformed out there. So that was one little interesting tidbit that I've seen floating around that's very easy to quash there. So anyway, there's a bunch of stuff for you on June 15th. New Wikileaks. Little bit of interesting info about that representative that was shot yesterday. So some things to keep in mind there. Oliver Stone interviewed Putin. Go watch that. Some interesting things to also keep in mind about what's going on in Florida, there in southern Florida, and may or may not be associated with that fraud lawsuit for the Democratic National Committee. And then always beware of that fake news. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for all of your support, all of your donations, your thank you, my Patreon subscribers, and take care, guys. I'll be back at it soon. So done.